Look at the screen in front of you and realize that you are currently participating in the greatest psychological experiment in human history. An experiment where your attention is the product and your cognitive sovereignty is the casualty. We are the first generation to have our ancient evolutionary biology, the parts of our brain designed for survival and tribal connection, weaponized against us by algorithms that understand our subconscious better than we do. Every notification is a hit of synthetic dopamine. Every scroll is a variable reward schedule modeled after a slot machine. And every hour you spend connected is an hour you are effectively being lobotomized by a digital panopticon that feeds you noise, until you can no longer hear your own intuition. I looked at the data and realized I was no longer a person. I was a data point, a ghost in a machine, a shell of a human being who knew how to react to the opinions of strangers, but had forgotten how to generate a single original thought. And that realization didn't just make me sad, it made me hungry for the person I used to be. I decided to perform a radical psychological intervention, a total neurological reset. 168 hours of absolute, crushing silence where I removed every external stimulus. No phone, no internet, no music, no books, and no human speech, because I wanted to see who was left when the world stopped telling me who to be. The first 24 hours were not a peaceful retreat. They were a violent chemical withdrawal where my brain, starved of its digital hits, went into a state of panic, manifesting phantom vibration syndrome so intensely that I could feel my pocket burning for a device that wasn't there. By the second day, the boredom didn't feel like nothing. It felt like pain, because psychologists know that we use noise as a primary defense mechanism to suppress the default mode network of our brain where our deepest regrets, fears, and existential anxieties live. When you take away the podcasts and the playlists, the silence becomes a high-definition mirror that forces you to confront the cognitive dissonance of your life, the gap between who you pretend to be online and the hollow reality of who you are when the screen goes dark. I spent the middle of the week trapped in a room with a version of myself I didn't recognize, a man addicted to the validation of people he doesn't even like, and I realized that this suffering wasn't a bug. It was the feature. I was performing surgery on my own consciousness, cutting away the necrotic tissue of social programming and digital dependency, understanding that you have to burn away the version of yourself that is addicted to the noise if you ever want to hear the truth of your own potential. Around day 5, the brain fog, which is actually a state of chronic overstimulation, finally evaporated, and my executive function returned with a predatory focus I hadn't felt since I was a child. I realized that silence isn't a void, it is a psychological weapon, and the reason most people are weak, broke, and miserable is that their mental energy is leaked into 1,000 different notifications, leaving them with nothing to build a legacy. When you plug those leaks, you don't just become productive, you become dangerous, because you are finally operating on your own frequency rather than reacting to the frequency of the herd. By day 7, I had realized that the greatest lie of modern psychology is that we need more to be happy. More connections, more information, more entertainment, when the truth is that we are drowning in the more and starving for the zero. When the 168 hours ended and I turned the machine back on, I watched the flood of chaos hit my screen and I felt nothing but a cold, calculated detachment. The psychological tether was broken, and I finally understood that the real world isn't in a glowing box. It's in the work you do when it hurts, the discipline you keep when you're bored, and the person you are when the world isn't watching. The ghost is dead, the programming is deleted, and for the first time in my adult life, I'm the one holding the scalpel. If you're tired of being a spectator in your own mind, if you're tired of being a battery for an algorithm that hates you, then it's time to go silent and rebuild from the ground up. This is day 1 of the new architecture of my life. If you're ready to stop sleeping and start hunting for your true self, subscribe.